So, a few months back, actually no, the thing started is when I had to replace the hard disk on my laptop. My laptop was running Linux as usual, which is I run KDE version of Ubuntu, and then the hard disk died. I had a backup of my home directory, so it wasn't a big deal. And then I replaced it with a normal disk. Okay, I had to install everything because the hard disk died, and then copy my home directory from the backup. But then after a while, I had something lying around, which was an SSD disk, which I'll get into. So let's start with about me. I think most people know me here, so I'll just skip to that. I do software development and software consulting and open source for living. This is my company. These are some of my clients. And we need help if you have a Drupal site that's slow or suffering outages or has high resource usage. And with that out of the way, let's start the presentation. So the laptop disk died, and the home directory was backed up with rsync. I replaced it with a disk. This was in the winter sometime, February, something like that. So I had the disk lying around, but then after a while, Smart Control, which is the smart home tools, started to say that the new disk that I put in, it's a used disk, but it was in ill health. I used it as a backup years ago, and then I retired it in favor of another disk. So I wanted to be proactive and change the disk before it dies on me. So I happen to have another SSD disk lying around, and I have lots of junk lying around. And this was an OCZ Vertex 256 gigabyte, which is now what's currently in the laptop. Since this is a laptop, you can't put two disks in at the same time and copy them, like a desktop. Okay? In a desktop, you probably have another SATA that's free. You just stick the other disk in, and you can copy them like that. But because this is a laptop, it's not an option. I have another bay that's here, but there is no SATA connection in it. I don't know what it's for. So I just quickly show you smartphone tools. And if I do that, you will see that the disk that's in the computer now is an OCZ Vertex. Okay? And it has that many gigabytes in it. And if you skip to all the other stuff, it's connected via SATA 3, 6 gigabytes per second, blah blah blah, all that. And then what matters are these numbers. So how many raw read errors were there? How many power on hours? Now, because this is an SSD, there are no platters, there are no heads, so it doesn't show all that. But I could show you the old disk. This is the old disk, and I have here a dock. So this is a dock that has, on the back, has USB and external SATA. So I can just drop the disk in, the other way, like that. And that dock works for 2.5 inch discs as well as the bigger ones, the desktop ones. So turn it on. Like that, and then I go into the nest, look at the bottom and see how the setting link. So it's trying to communicate with the disk, as you can see at the very bottom, 4 lines there. Okay, so the disk failed. So maybe the disk is not real, which is a good thing because I replaced it. What I wanted to show you is I would run the same smartphone tools on it and then go and see what errors are there. Okay, so it's saying please be patient. Link is slow to respond. Please be patient. Now this laptop happens to have the eSATA connection. I had this laptop since 2009, and it has been running. I don't know if the modern laptops have that as a standard or it's something that's rare or what. Okay, the disk is not showing, so we'll just skip over that part then. Okay, so the first thing you need to do on a new disk, you need to partition it. Okay, this is something that anyone who installed Linux is a bit familiar with, because if you install a new distribution from a CD, it gets done for you. But over the years, you know, if you've partitioned disks for additional storage or backup or something like that, you would have needed something like that. So the tools that are available are, you know, these are the tools that I found, which is fdisk, cfdisk, parted, and gdisk. Which one to use depends on the disk size, what other operating systems are on it, and other factors. So these tools vary. Like the master boot record is the old format of the old disks from the DOS days. Ever since DOS was invented in the 80s, that was the way disks were booted. And then a new thing came in more recently, maybe in the last 10 years or so, the GPT, the GoIT partition table. And it can accommodate larger disks. For example, if you have a disk that is more than 2 terabytes, you have to use GPT. You cannot do it with NBR. So I think out of these, I use gdisk and parted the most, the last two, fdisk. But in this case, this disk is basically a small disk, 256. So I just use the easy way, the tool I use most, which is fdisk, and that's how I partitioned it, which is basically, I just added a swap partition and an ext4 partition. Nothing fancy. I never used LVM or any of that stuff, so I just start with what I know. So the important part here is that I had the swap before the ext partition. So if you go and look at that, this was supposed to be like in a tabulated format. So start sector, end sector, and then you have the 82 is the type, which is Linux swap, and 83 is the Linux partition, which can house ext4 or some other sort of thing. Now the reason I put the swap first is because I'm bad at math, so I let the tool calculate for me the amount of swap. I said give it 8 gigabytes, which is the amount of RAM I have in this laptop, and then everything else would be the ext4. I didn't do home on its own. The disk is kind of small, and the home directory gets backed up to the server anyways, so I don't need it to be on its own partition. The other thing I realized a while back is that I upgraded that laptop from 4 gigabytes to 8 gigabytes, and that made me keep the laptop for longer, because once I did that, all the problems and performance have gone away. But I lost the ability to hibernate the laptop, because there is not enough swap space to house the image of the kernel. The image now is 8 gigabytes, so it didn't work. So by doing this, I had the opportunity to make hibernate work again, as it used to work before the memory upgrade, maybe 1.5 years ago or something like that. So we'll get to hibernate a bit later after we get the system up and running. So I just used the ext4. It's the most familiar to me. It's the most reliable. When you hear about ZFS and the other ButterFS and all that, you always have these caveats of you cannot use that with that, or you can use this with this. So I'm not the experimenting type. I just wait for the thing to mature and then use it. I can experiment on a separate machine, but not my daily machine. So the command is simple: make file system, ext4, and then the partition. So in this case, because it's the second partition on the second disk, it's disk B, and the partition is 2, not 1. 1 is one of the swap. This is something you have to take care of, keep in mind when you're doing this next steps, because now you're doing the second disk. So I create a temporary mount point. I just chose MNT disk 2, and then I mounted. I did a mount for that partition, and then copying the existing disk in the laptop to the new disk is using CPIO. And the reason is CPIO is a tool that understands the file system. It's not like DD. DD would copy raw bits from from this disk, or row sectors from that disk to that disk, and that's it. Doesn't know what's inside it. So my previous disk was of a different size, so I couldn't do that. It was, I think, 500 gigabytes. This one is 256, so I didn't know if I do that, what will happen. It will overrun the partition and then overrun the swap and then say there's an error. I don't know. So I didn't want to experiment. I just used this, which is basically CPIO. CPIO was basically anyone who used System 5 Release 4 flavor of Unix back in the 80s or 90s would know that this is the preferred way of backing up rather than tar, which is what is being used in the open source with everything is tar. So the exact command, it preserves the timestamps, ownership, and then also it will go on the files that are touched, which means that these files have the last read date as now, and go and put them back to what they were. So the good thing about CPIO, it will leave the file system in the same state as if you have a file that was not accessed in 4 years, it will remain as not accessed in 4 years. Okay, tar doesn't do that. Tar just marks it as being read, and the system would keep it like that. So the commands is you change directly to root, which is my old disk, and then I say find minus xdev, which means that if I have something else that's mounted, then ignore it. Whether it's a special file system, it's a remote file system, or anything else, or another disk in the machine. And then I say print 0, which is print the names of the files with a 0 at the end. And then CPIO minus P is the pass-through, and then A is the access time reset. That's the flag that tells it to get back the files to the same state. Now in this case, it's not a big deal because I was junking the disk and then replacing it. But if you have a file system that you're backing up, CPIO is a good way of leaving the file system in the same state as you did. And then here is some magic which Google pointed me to. So there are some pages that I have at the end of the presentation that tells you where I got this from, which is mounting the special file system, the dev, the sys, and the proc. So I did that, mounting these things, and then I changed root to the new disk. So the new disk is MNT disk 2. Now this is my root. Once I issue that command, this is my root. And then the pages that I was referring to were doing grub 1, so the original grub. But I was using, Ubuntu actually uses grub 2 as its default now. So I wanted to stay with what Ubuntu has. So I said grub, make config, and then give it an output which is boot grub cfg. So it will create a new grub configuration in that new disk. Because the new disk is now SDB2, not SDA1. Like the one that we were started with, plus the UIDs of the partitions are totally different. So we have to undo all these things and reset them to what the new disk would be. And then I asked grub to install in the new MBR, which is grub install dev SDB. So saying that put grub in that. If I didn't do this step, the disk would not boot. It would have everything I had on it in the old disk, but it won't boot. And then changing the fstab. So finding the partition and the UIDs of the partition. So if you see here, SDA1 is the original disk that's in the ext4 root partition of the original disk, and then SDB2, okay, is the new partition, which is the one that I will be used to replacing. It will become SDA2 when I put the disk in. And then SDA5 is the swap for the old disk, which we don't care about for now. And then edit the fstab and change the UID on it. We only need to change at this stage the second one only, which is the SDB2. Okay. So we need to change just the middle one. So whatever is there in the fstab for the root file system, we just need to change the UID there. Let me show you how it looks now. Okay, so you can see that the ext4 partition here, okay, with the same exact no A time, no date time, etc., etc. The UID is this, the new partition. And if I do dev disk by UID, there should be Actually, the cyan color looks better on this screen than on mine. But you can see the SDA one, which is after I switched the disks, it became SDA one, which is this is the swap partition, and this is the ext4 partition. So you can see DA7 is here. Okay, and then we'll get to this part in a bit. Okay, so once I do that, I want to enable swap. And again, it's for hibernation basically, because if the laptop starts swapping, everything is slow and I don't want that. So with the 8 gigabytes, if I have swapping of that, then there is another problem, and it's not something that you want on a daily basis. So first I say swap off everything, and then I say make swap on dev SDB1 this time, which is the partition that I assigned as, if you remember, you see, this is SDA1 down there. This is called Linux swap here. Okay? And then this is the output of the command. It says setting up swap version, 8 gigabytes. And then it will say the UID is this. So you either note it down or copy and paste it. Okay? And then you go into the fstab and change the UID for it, just like I showed you here, which is this part. Okay? So, that's not the end of the story. There's still more stuff to do to get the hibernation working. And by the way, I had hibernation working on this laptop since day one. People say hibernation doesn't work, sleep doesn't work, Wi-Fi, blah, blah, blah. I never, for the past maybe 8 years or so, I have never had to chase a hardware problem on a PC anymore. Things just work. Maybe I'm lucky with the hardware I have.
It's my experience as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, all the stuff about, you should get the Broadcom, this and do that is something that you don't have to deal with it in Ubuntu. Ubuntu has good proprietary blobs to support these kind of things. Maybe if you run Debian, you would run some of that, I don't know. And then, now is the moment of truth. You replace this. You shut down the laptop, okay? Fill it with the hardware, put the disk back, and then open the laptop and reboot. Hopefully, it will boot, but in my case, it didn't. So there is still a step. Grab to put it in something called rescue, which is something I've never faced before. So I just Googled and found, that this is what you do. Set prefix to the first disk, and add the /boot/grub, is the path, and then set the root to that. Ins mod normal, and then you say normal. Once I type normal, the laptop booted on its own. I didn't have to do anything else. But then what I had to do after I rebooted is did grub install in dev SDA. Remember now the disk was B while I had the old disk in the computer, but now I have that as A. So I said grub install. So something from the steps of grubs here, grub 2 maybe or something didn't work well. I didn't troubleshoot or anything like that. I just documented it. That's it. I wrote it on a web page and left it for Google to people who want to find it. Once I did that, the laptop, was booted fine. I shut it down and boot it again. It's fine. Now for the hibernation, I need to find out the UID of the swap partition the same way we did before. And then there is this file called etc default grub, and then there is a command in it. Grub command line Linux, and I had to add resume equal UID equal, and then the Z here is replaced by the UID. And then I did update grub. Once I did that, let's see if that was all there is. Let's see default grub. Let's do less. And you can see that it's this line. Okay, so you just add resume equal, UID equal. So basically that when the laptop starts, it goes and looks into the swap partition, whether there's an image there, and that partition is identified by the UID, which is it the same as this one? B4, yes, it's the same. Same as what I put here in the fstab. And once I did that, the laptop was hibernating fine. Now, with an SSD, people say don't hibernate too much because it writes a lot of data and may, exhaust the number of bytes or whatever. But for me, it works. I mean, the good thing is I set up now the laptop to, I think when it's 12% of power remaining, then go to power save mode, and then when it's 8 or 6, I can't remember, it will go to hibernate on its own. So I never lose anything. And I tried it and it works fine. And that's good. So the main article I referenced was this guy, which I took most of the stuff in. But then I had to do the grub2 stuff, which is in here on my site. And then hibernate stuff, I got it from that guy. Now I'll post the slides to my site, and you guys can, I'll send it to the group if someone wants to go and refer to anything that's there. And that's all I have really, not much. Any questions? Comments? Yes.
You CPIO. What's the difference between that and rsync?
rsync for me, I've always used over the network. There's no network here, so it does work, but it works locally. No, but CPIO has been there for ages. It's something that I grew up with. Actually, I learned CPIO before Cloud. And that was 1987 when I first started with Unix. And it's the kind of, when we used to exchange tapes, we used to use CPIO. And CPIO was not as portable as Star. I found out later. So we had to use special flags for CPIO to put it in. And there was also byte ordering. So there's little engine and big engine. So the tapes. So the company I worked for used Motorola CPUs initially, and the tapes were readable, and then they switched to Intel. And the tapes were not readable until we had to type DD conf equals swap, so swap bytes, and then pipe it to CPIO, and then we could read the stuff. So it's just something that's, you do, instead of 2 steps, so instead of doing tar to a partition or something, and then tar minus C, and then tar minus X from that partition. So instead of 2 steps, it does a pass through, so it does it on the fly. So it's 1 step. And it did work. I didn't have to try it very much. It worked from the first time. Which brought memories from the 90s about the CPIO, which I haven't used since I switched to everything open source. Tar is what everyone uses, and tar is what everyone uses. Yeah.
CPIO, I normally use it with find, with route, the options that you have, X, everything it was.
Okay, let me get the page here maybe. Okay.
Because it feeds CPIO just a list of file names, right?
Yeah, the find will just feed file names. The find will feed just file names.
Yeah.
So that's it. And CPIO expects its input to be a list of names.
Right. But why do you only need print 0 or expect is there an advantage to using that?
I think the print 0 is putting the 0 null after the file name rather than a new line.
Right.
Something like that. I know that it matches the 0 in the CPIO. So the 0 in the CPIO does that.
It handles spaces better. It handles spaces and file names.
Yes.
Where you have odd characters.
Yes.
Now it'll just take the name literally up to the null, and then.
If you have a file name with a new line.
But that's only going to be effective here if there happens to be a new line character
Yes.
in the name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is a disaster. So.
Yes, but it still should work.
The thing here, I think it's
whether it's a bad idea,
Yeah.
it should still work.
It's just because, and this is a good thing to do with your backups, because sometimes you assume that everything should work, but then you have this thing that aborts at 3 a.m. in the morning and you never know about it, and hopefully you'll notice it next day, or if you have a script that aborts and then you need the backup after a couple of years, and you find out that all your backups are missing or something. So, people will have crazy things, especially with sometimes with Unicode stuff and all that. So this is kind of defensive measure, if you will. Okay. Anything else?
There's such a thing as a file system checksum.
File system checksum?
Yeah. So you copy from one to the other, and then you want to know what's
There is, I think, what was it? CPIO had something like that. We used to do. Okay, so
you do all this copy, you want to make sure that you done it right.
we used to use, I think in the CPIO days, we used to just go and list the backup so that we can get the file names and compare them to the file names that the list. So basically we did it in 2 steps. So find would be 1 step, and output a name list of file names to backup. And then after that, go and read the tape that we have in those days it was tapes with CPIO, and then compare the file names on the backup. So it wouldn't give you the checksum on a byte by byte basis of the contents of the file, but at least the names of the files would be there. I think that's what I used to do in the 90s or something. But I remember there was another tool now. I think it's dump. Dump is what I use. I'm not sure if it has. Okay, just don't have it here. So it's not installed on this, but dump I think has something like that. Because dump basically it bypasses it works on a lower level in the file system. It doesn't work on the file level, or it does work on the file level, but it doesn't, for example, like I said, that access flag like CPIO does. So CPIO you have to tell it don't update the access time. So CPIO minus A. So minus you say minus O, which is output, and then you say A, which means don't reset the minus sign. Dump by default does that because it's a backup tool and knows that in the days when we had all the file systems having access time enabled, now you have no A time, and probably if you have something ext4 system, you will see that you have no A time or no dire A time that you have, which is basically don't bother with these. So if you use dump, I do use dump actually for the daily backup. So I have a dock just like this one, and I have a disk, which is a full desktop disk. It's a 3 GB, and I had to format it with GPT. And then I have a dump script that goes every day and gives you an incremental backup. So it does an incremental backup for all the days of the week, and then on Sunday we'll take a full backup. So it has a dump level. Level 0 is full, and then level 1 is incremental. So you can have level 1, level 2, level 3. But I just use one, which is so I don't have to go to 3 generations back to get a file. So my last day's backup is my backup. So I think it does have something to verify. I'm not sure. Not that I'm using it. I can check and post to the group. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I guess we'll just go to the next. We'll have a break for a while, and then we'll have the next. Thank you.